Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. Sorry about the slight delay. Super excited about this evening's call. It's not every single day that you get the CEO and president of the company on the call, and really excited about this evening. We've obviously been chatting about this for quite some time. So just a little bit about myself before we get started. So my name is JP Koster. I'm a Platinum Presidential Director with Mannatech. I have in fact been with this company for, yesterday would have been 12 years. So I've been with this for quite some time. And what an amazing journey it's been. I made the decision 12 years ago to get started, and it's absolutely changed my life. And I've been so blessed to go out there and go and share this information with so many people out there, you know, not just from a product point of view, but from a business point of view. It's really, really something that's very, very exciting. And, you know, if you're on the call this evening, you're at the right place at the right time. So just before we get started, I hope all of you can hear me loud and clear. Yeah, I see we've got about just over 300-400 people on the Facebook group, and I think we just hit over just around 300 people on the Zoom call, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more people that are going to hop on. So just to get things started, I want to Al, are you there? If you can maybe just put the video on, it'll be great to just see if everything's working. Great. Okay. So great to have you on the call, and thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're extremely busy and you've got a lot going on. And yeah, just great to have you sharing this evening on our call. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a few hundred people on the call, and a lot of people wanting to find out why Mannatech, why now. You know, so maybe just to start off with, maybe you could just sort of share with us a little bit about your story. I know that you obviously studied to be an engineer, and you became a qualified engineer. And maybe share with us a little bit about that, and obviously how you sort of got involved with Mannatech. And you know, maybe we can just share with us a little bit your experience so far.
All right. Well, thank you very much, JP, and happy anniversary. I know yesterday was your 12th year anniversary with Mannatech, and I think there's a lot to be said about that kind of consistency and persistency, which is the hallmark of people who do well in whatever endeavor they take on. But certainly we feel very privileged, and we feel very honored and grateful that you're part of this incredible worldwide family that we have in Mannatech. Secondly, I want to say I am so pleased and excited to be talking to all our folks in South Africa. I know that eventually this will be watched by people all around the world, but it's great to know that South Africa has been one of our top performing countries over the last 8 years. And you guys just finished an amazing month of May. So I'm very excited about what's happening there. And I want to tell everyone that this whole thing started from me just calling JP on a Sunday, go, JP, what are you doing? You are growing. You got thousands of people joining your business every month. What's happening? And that's where it led to a really nice conversation. Eventually, this opportunity to speak to you today. So my story goes back to 1980. I was 20 years old. And just like some people on this call, maybe you were invited to be on this Zoom call to take a look at something. Maybe you know a little bit about it. Maybe you know nothing about it. I did not know anything about it at that point. I was 20 years old. I was recently immigrated from Africa. I was born in West Africa and then moved to the US when I was almost 17 years old. And literally, it was just a few years later that I was introduced to this incredible opportunity. And just like you are being introduced to this as well today. So for me, what happened was I had been sold on the idea that, you know, really the American dream, which is the South African dream, the European dream, the Australian dream, is to get a good education, get a good job, and then work 45 years for 40 hours for 45 years, and then retire, as some people would say, on 40% of what you were making before. But I was sold on that concept. I was going to be an engineer. That's what I decided when I was probably in my teens. And that's what I was going to do until I went to that meeting. And that meeting changed my life. And I think for people who invited you tonight, they're hoping that this same thing could happen to you as well. Is that you're going to see something, you're going to hear something that's going to make all the difference for you and make you, to some degree, reevaluate your plans and how you've structured your future and maybe want to include this as part of your plan. So because of that, I continued to work as an engineer for about 10 years, about 11 years actually. I was an engineer. I became the youngest plant manager, managing 300 some people, 3 shifts for Bose Corporation in Framingham, Massachusetts. But in 1991, I had a chance to leave all of that behind and really focus on my business full time. And from that point, I started traveling the world as well, launching this concept in many different countries, including South Africa. And eventually it took me to over 100 countries, and I got a chance to do this business model in over 60 different countries. And from that eventually led me to a place where I had the opportunity to lead a company like Mannatech. Back in 2007, I was invited to join to help expand Mannatech across the world, which is when we started expanding to South Africa, which is when I met JP Koster about 8 years ago. No, actually 12 years ago. And then from there, it's been an incredible ride. So one meeting, one phone call, one meeting made all the difference. And we hope that for you today, the same thing would happen. So JP, that's kind of my story in a very, very small nutshell for the time that we have today.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, specifically, I think this evening we want to talk a little bit about, you know, why network marketing. I think, you know, just for me, I've obviously been part of this industry for 12 years. I remember first being invited to my first opportunity meeting. I had no idea how it all worked or what it was all about. And, you know, literally also similar for me, that first opportunity meeting changed my life completely. I heard a little bit about the product, but what really got me excited was the opportunity to earn extra income. And I think specifically, I'd like you to delve a little bit into why network marketing and why so many people are getting involved in this industry, you know, today. I mean, more than ever before.
Yeah, I think, JP, I would like to go back to 1980 when I saw this for the first time, because that may be the experience a lot of people are having right now. They're seeing this for the first time. For me, what really excited me, which is the promise of the industry, was basically that you could be in business for yourself. That was a concept that was kind of foreign to me. The reason people don't get in business for themselves is because they don't think they have enough money to do it. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough knowledge. They don't have enough connection. I didn't have none of those things. The one thing I understood is there was people in that room. There was a community of people that surrounded me that could help me do this, even though I didn't have none of the prerequisite to do this. So that really was exciting to me. Secondly, I was introduced for the very first time to a concept of leverage income, asset income, how to create something that will generate income on an ongoing basis for years to come from the efforts that you did today. And that sometime you could pass this on to your next generation. I got very excited about that. I got very excited about the idea of an international business. Having been born in Africa, speaking French and moving to the US, being, you know, my parents being Portuguese, all of that made me think of the world as a much bigger place. And I think if you live in South Africa, you got to feel the same way. There's a much bigger place. And this is before technology. This is before we had really the way to do that. But I remember from that first night, I started thinking, one day I will travel the world visiting my businesses. One day I will travel the world visiting my businesses. So that became something that stayed with me every single night for years. For 11 years, I said, one day I'll be traveling the world visiting my business. So the idea of an international business, a global business, was very exciting to me. The idea of something that I could do that could bring value to people, but at the same time, it would give me a sense of significance, a way that I could feel like I was doing something great for other people. So people ask me all the time, so who's qualified for what we, you know, for this? Anybody who cares about other people, anybody who wants to help and bring value to other people. So there was also I realized not long after I joined, there was an opportunity for self-development. And for me, I am a product of self-development. I'm a product of what we call the power of association, being around people who thought different, who dreamed bigger, who were not stuck in the status quo. For me, that was an exciting thing because we become like the 5 people that speak into our lives the most. And if those people have the right dreams, they have the right thought processes, you will have the right dream, the right thought processes. So there was an opportunity for me to grow personally. And because of that, it took me from a factory worker back in 1980 to the CEO of a NASDAQ publicly traded company over a span of time. But that's not because of something I learned in school. It's something I learned, we call self-directed education. What I learned in the process of being part of this thing, which is for many people who are watching us right now, there is an amazing serendipity to being part of something like this, being around people like JP Koster and other leaders in his organization, is you're going to learn how to think differently about certain things, especially the mindset about money, the mindset about wealth, the mindset about health, and the mindset about doing something bigger than yourself. All those things come from your association. So those were the things that attracted me then, JP. Now, the other question is, so what about now? So that was 40 years ago. Are those things still true today? Those things are still true today, but even more because it's now being leveraged by technology. I tell people all the time, everything that's happened the last 40 years in terms of innovation and new technologies have been things that have helped us to do what we did back in 1980 even better. Our reach, our influence, our ability to connect across boundaries all over the world is the greatest it's been since the beginning of mankind. The fact that you and I are having this video conference, that there's people watching us from literally all parts of the world, and then eventually through social media, this will be in front of thousands of people. This is something we've never had, and I want people to understand, are you being used by technology, or are you using technology to better your situation, your family situations, your finance, and your ability to create a financial legacy for your children and your grandchildren? Because that's what I see today still being as true as it was 40 years ago, but even truer because today many things have changed. You know, back in the day, the concept of an in-home business was very foreign. Like if you had an in-home business, it was like maybe because you had failed at everything else. Today, it's the model. The model is to be able to work from your home, to be able to work from anywhere. Technology, smartphone, apps, and all these other things, these video conferencing tools that we have, everything allows you to have complete freedom of how you're going to work, unless you have to go to a job. Then there's no freedom. But in a business of your own, leveraged by technology, a home-based business, an online business, which is what we have, all these things put together makes network marketing more relevant today than it was 40 years ago for me. If you just look at what's happened just the last 4 months, with everybody having to be home. Now, for most people that had normal businesses, their businesses were wiped out and devastated because they couldn't show up, and people couldn't show up to their place of business. Here in America, and I'm sure in South Africa, many businesses have gone completely out of business, or they're in bankruptcy, or they're in Chapter 11, as we call it here, where they're reconsolidating themselves and everything else. While businesses like ours, we've had the best 3 months of the last 5 years, only because we were in the right business, home-based business, we were online, and we were catering to health and wellness, which is what everybody needs today. So you look at all these things and you go, wow, the perfect business model for today. And since we now are going to be experiencing a new normal, this is not just what's happened the last 4 months, this is what's going to happen now for the next years to come. Things have changed completely, and our business model is more relevant today than it's ever been before. So JP, it was good 40 years ago. It's even better today.
Well, just on that, I mean, thank you so much for sharing that. And I specifically, I remember reading just, I think about a month ago, I think when they looked at all the network marketing companies, I think something like 86% of them had seen growth when most companies in the US were experiencing massive, massive decline in sales. The network marketing industry was just exploding. And I think that must have a lot to do with obviously, you know, it being something that people can do part-time and obviously being able to use technology like we do today. And, you know, I've been sharing with the group that, you know, 10, 20 years ago, or at least 10 years ago when I started, people used to laugh at you when you said you got a home-based business. Now it's like everyone is working from home. It's becoming the new norm. So, I mean, is that very much something you see is going to be happening in the future? That, I mean, a lot more people are going to be getting involved in this gig economy with, you know, with specifically in the health and wellness industry?
Well, for sure. I think, first of all, let's talk about health and wellness. I mean, health and wellness was growing 6 to 7% a year. It's a $4.2 trillion industry, and it's one that has been growing significantly over the last few years. Why? Because of the baby boomers. You know, they're getting to the age where they need more health and wellness. But then something like what happened a few months ago, and all of a sudden everybody's thinking about health. Everybody's thinking about the immune system. And all of a sudden it's become more important to be in that kind of a business. And then the fact that people couldn't be but home. And then everything was being done online. Online businesses have grown just in the last 4 months about 16%. Online sales grew 16%. Online sales of vitamins grew 166% in the last 4 months. So I'm just telling you that we are in the right place at the right time. We're in the right industry with the right model. And think about it, you know, as I was saying to you earlier, you guys have experienced the best May ever, and yet everybody's on lockdown. Well, that for me is a testament to the resiliency of this model, but also the relevance of the model for a time like this.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, I can't agree with you more. I mean, just personally for me and my group, I mean, we've, you know, since I've been part of Mannatech for 12 years, the last 2 months have been the best 2 months since I've been involved. I mean, we've seen things happen that I've never thought would be possible. And it's amazing. Just before we went into lockdown, I was almost very, very sort of stressed out about like not being able to do meetings and doing home meetings. It's amazing just to see how everyone's just bought into technology, bought into these Zoom calls, bought into doing Facebook Lives, and just to see how we've almost very, very been able to maintain our volume very, very well and even grow our businesses. And for me, that's very, very exciting to obviously see that. Al, the next thing I wanted to just quickly just chat to you about specifically was, you know, just the business model, network marketing. I mean, you know, I've been part of Mannatech, you know, as many of you know, I've shared this previously for 10, 12 years. You know, you see so many different, you know, companies come around, come and go, you know, the next flavor of the week, you know, whether it be, you know, with, you know, I mean, there's so many, I don't want to mention any names specifically, but I mean, you've been in this for 40 years. I'm sure you've seen your fair share of, you know, people promising people these incredible returns and getting people involved in something that, you know, that's a quick buck, if I could call it that. I mean, can you maybe just shed a bit of light on that? Because, I mean, obviously you being a CEO of a public company in the direct selling space, you know, what's your sort of take on that?
Well, you know, network marketing has a very explosive growth potential. I mean, there is no doubt that when it comes to being able to start from zero and have incredible growth, network marketing has that exponential growth potential. For that reason, it attracts a lot of people. But network marketing has always been about, first of all, it's about things that are new and different, for sure. Network marketing has always been the bedrock of innovation. A lot of the things that we see today that are normal, that are, you know, people buy in stores today, most of those new ideas started out in network marketing. Network marketing takes a new idea because we do person to person, we can explain, we can train. Those types of products are just perfect for network marketing. But then some people start thinking, well, obviously, if this system is so good, maybe we can put anything through it. And that's when I started seeing some really strange things coming through network marketing distribution that had no business being in network marketing. And literally what they ended up being is basically pyramid Ponzi schemes that were disguised as, network marketing model, but it wasn't. It was always about how to get the most out of people and then be able to be gone. And it was never about delivering value on a consistent basis. So for me, it needs a product. It needs something that people would use, JP, whether they are in a business or not. You need a product that people need. We need a product that people will consume and then buy again. Because if the promise of network marketing, if the key promise of network marketing is some form of ongoing residual income, well then in order to have ongoing residual income, you have to have ongoing residual customers. So that means your customers buy once, they buy again, they buy again. In that case, and then we'll talk about it because obviously I represent Mannatech and we're going to talk about Mannatech, but our average customer stays on a product for 9.7 years. An Embertos customer stays on for 9.7 years. Last year, we celebrated 265 people that had taken the product for 25 years, which is the amount of time we've been in business. They've taken our product every month for 25 years. So JP, if you introduced a customer to our business and they took our products for 25 years, it means you made money for 25 years. And that is why it works. So these people that bring in these very new ideas, but they're so complicated that nobody understands them, and they can kind of just pull a wool over somebody's eye for a while, but those companies never last because they don't provide value. And actually, the Federal Trade Commission and other regulatory organizations around the world are realizing that if there's not a product, a tangible product, they consider that to be a pyramid. And the way you separate, some people are even looking at watching us right now, wonder, is this like one of those pyramids? No, it's not. Because a pyramid is when you're just moving money around, but there's nothing in there for a customer, for a consumer. In that case, our customers come in because they want the product, they want the benefit of the product, they stay on a product because they like the benefit, and then eventually they say, you know what, I like this so much, I'm going to promote it to my friends and family and the people I like because it's something that's done good things for me. So for me, that's really the underpinning of a good network marketing model, is when you have something that people need, whether they're in business or not, whether they're making money or not, they need that product. And Mannatech has those products. We have a lot of those different categories of products that people can get through our distribution model. And that's what makes it a legitimate, a real business, an ongoing business. That's why we've been around 25 years. That's why we've sold over $5 billion of these products to people who needed it. There was a need, we filled the need, we guaranteed it, we provided the value, and for that reason, the business is around and will be around for another 25 years because people need what we have.
Oh yeah, that's a great explanation. I've always shared with my group that, for me personally, or in fact, any of us that are building a legitimate business or, building their business successfully, is that we don't need any new people to join. For instance, in my group, I don't need any new people to join in the month of June because I've got thousands of customers and group leaders that have got customers that are all using the product. So we're not dependent on new people signing up to make it work. And I specifically always shed light on, the FTC ruling of 1979, where they talk about the 70% ruling. So for instance, when the FTC comes into your company, they want to see at least that 70% of the people involved in your company are actually customers of the product. And sort of what I've seen in the last sort of while, specifically in South Africa, that, a lot of these schemes, they're getting people to invest money or getting involved, but I haven't met one person who uses the product. Everyone's involved just to make money. So I don't know where the customer is. And I think very often, especially for people when they're vulnerable, they sometimes, while using fancy terms, people can get talked into something that really can sometimes, the reputational damage that you can sometimes have by getting people involved in something that's not legitimate can just be devastating.
Well, you only have, you have one chance to make a first impression, and that's true. But you're talking to people that are your friends and your family and people that you care for. So I would say that it's a very important decision. It's something that you don't take lightly. You do a little bit of homework. You make sure that it's something, number one, that you're going to use yourself. And that's why a company needs to have a wide enough range of products so that women and men and children and even pets and so on can take the products that we have. And then the other thing is you got to make sure the business has been around long enough. I mean, I love people who say, well, this is a ground floor opportunity. Well, I've seen in 40 years many ground floor opportunities that never got off the ground floor, because eventually, if that was the only selling thing. So what happens 5 years from now when it's not a ground floor anymore? Then is it not good anymore? No, it has to be good all the time for everyone. If it's not, then it's not really a legitimate opportunity. And I know that some things, I call it fool's gold. Just because it shines doesn't mean it's gold. Do your due diligence. And that's what I recommend to people when they're looking at Mannatech. Do your due diligence. We're an open book. We're a publicly traded company. Everything is out there. You can see everything that's happened, the good, the bad, the ugly. Have we had some situations? Yes. Can we explain them? Absolutely. And then we're still around 25 years later. 5 billion plus sold over the last 25 years. Those things count, especially when you're taking your reputation and you're putting it online with people that you like and respect. You better make sure, for their sake and for your sake, that what you're talking about makes sense. It's legitimate. It has track record. It's validated. All those things are really critical for this industry to fulfill its promise. And that promise is that we're going to be here for you. We're going to be here for your children, maybe for your grandchildren, and that you can create multi-generational wealth. But you can't do that on the basis of something that has no value. It has to have value to an ultimate customer.
Awesome. That's a great explanation. Thanks, Al. I think, something that I was sharing with you earlier is that, there are going to be lots of different flavors of the week, and I've obviously had my fair share over the last 5 to 10 years of different companies come along. So I want you to specifically just share a little bit about, as I mentioned to you earlier, I mean, glyconutrients, glycans. I mean, this is this amazing technology that Mannatech's got global patents on. I mean, this is something that's not going to go out of fashion. I mean, because your cells are not going to go out of fashion. They're always going to need these glycans, and they can only get that from one company, and that's from Mannatech. And so if you can maybe just shed a little bit of light on, glycans, where we're going with that technology. I mean, that'll be obviously, a lot of people on the call might have recently seen the new Mannatech video. I mean, just, all the research that's going into it. And if you can maybe just share a bit on that, it'll be great.
Well, I think fundamentally, I mean, there's two kinds of companies in our space. There are companies in our space that, like us, it started with a discovery. And then somebody said, how do we get this product to the market in a way that it could be explained? Because this is new science. This is something, it's a new concept. So we were a research and development company that was trying to get to the market and use network marketing to get to the market. There's other companies that are network marketing companies that go out there and say, well, I think I can put anything through the system because I can sell ice to Eskimo. Well, you know what? If Eskimos don't need ice, why would you want to sell ice to Eskimo? Just because you're good at selling doesn't mean you're going to sell anything and put anything through that pipeline in order to create commission on the other side, because it will not last. In our case, we started from a discovery. The whole idea of glycans and what glycans do for you is something that it goes back to 1994 when it truly hit the medical establishment through Harper's biochemistry. They determined there was 8 sugars that were essential for cell-to-cell communication. Well, cell-to-cell communication is a fundamental, essential structure function of our body. We have cells. Our cells need to communicate in order to do the job they need to do to help you grow and to stay healthy and to fight the invading viruses, bacteria, fungus, whatever, to keep you well. Those cells have to communicate, and the fundamentals of that communication is glyconutrients on the surface of the cell, something we call the glycocalyx. We now find out that it's not only on the outside of the cell, but it's inside of every vein, capillary, artery. There is a coating of these things that protects you from having thick pathogens go through your veins into your body. So there's a protection element, there's a communication element, and certainly it requires a little bit of explanation. That's why I hope people will watch the videos that we have out there. We have the videos that explain the cell-to-cell communication. We have the video that share how this thing is, where does it come from? Because we are, we prescribe to the idea that everything mankind needs for their well-being is in nature. And obviously being in South Africa, I think everybody understands that, because there's thousands of years of history of people going into nature and finding what man needs, whether it's for nutrition or for healing. What we did is we created a science of finding these natural things and bringing it to in a way that it could be commercialized, through a normal channel. And that science called glycobiology, we coined the word glyconutrients, which is a segment of that science, because glycobiology is a huge science, but glyconutrients is what we do. And that's where we have, over 50 patents just in the glycobiology, the glycan side of things. And it's essential to life. Now, people will need to understand how that all works and how taking it in, orally, eating it, gets it to your body, and your body knows how to use it to do the things it needs to do in order to keep you well. As you said, that is never going to go out of fashion. I remember the days where, people sold IP telephony or internet over IP. And at that time, it cost something. And then a few years later, it was free. Well, you can't make a business out of something that's free, right? But for a while, it was the big deal. Oh, this is so easy, right? You don't have to take anything. You don't have, it's, wow. Well, eventually, those things disappear because there is no market for it. There's going to be a market for, as long as you have cells, there's going to be a market for glycans. And our job has been over the last 25 years is to absolutely, make it as perfect as we can, to perfect the process of taking that from nature and bringing it into a way that we could bring it to you, so you can put it into your body, and your body is a smart body, knows exactly what to do with that stuff. And when you give it good stuff, it does good things. And that's what Mannatech is about. And I'm sure some of you who are watching will get a chance to listen to Dr. Nugent and some of his videos and some of his explanations, which is the scientific side of the presentation. But I just want you to know that for me, as a layperson in that area, all I know is every morning I take all those products because I know it's good for my body, and it's been good for the last 13 years that I've been taking it, and it's been good for the people around me. It's something that I want my mother to take, I want my kids to take, I want my grandkids to take, because I want to make sure that they're going to be as well as possible for as long as possible. And that's our responsibility as human beings, to take care of our bodies and take care and help our families and our friends to have the same benefit as well, JP.
Awesome. Oh, that's a great explanation. And the next thing I want to just quickly ask you is, I always talk about this thing about, Mannatech being a legacy company. What does it mean being a legacy company? Because for me, a legacy company is a company, is going to be around for a very long time. So, why do you sort of feel that Mannatech is a legacy company? Besides, obviously, I believe it's a known industry fact that Mannatech is a legacy company, but why is it so important to be part of a legacy company?
Well, we can't predict the future, but we can look at the past. Mannatech has a 25-year history. That means we have overcome a lot of things. It means that we have provided something of value to people for 25 years. That's why they keep coming. It also means we have learned how to progress. We have learned how to create new products. We have patents in 6 different categories of products. We have clinical studies in quite a few of those as well. human double-blind, placebo, crossover, randomized, gold standard studies on our products, not on ingredients. Like a lot of people, they always say, well, we have the studies on the ingredient. Well, we have the studies on the product, the full composition. But that for me is legacy. We've sold over $5 billion of products over the last 25 years. That's legacy. We've touched over 1 million people over the last 25 years in 25 countries, and we keep expanding. That's legacy. And why is that important? Because again, if the promise of this industry, if the reason why you're watching this is because you want a way that you can really do something great for you and your family, and that your children can benefit from the things that you're doing right now, then you want to make sure that business is going to be in business in the future. Now, again, we can't predict the future, but we have enough of a past for you to look at and go, well, if they've done this in the last 25 years, there's a good chance they're going to be able to continue to do that over a longer period of time. And that can span your life, like your lifetime, and it could go on to your children. We have businesses right now that are now passing on from parents to children. And we have already grandchildren that are benefiting from the things that their grandparents did in Mannatech. So for me, that's a legacy company. We also call it iconic companies. There's thousands of companies in our space, but there's very few iconic companies that have withstood the test of time. And Mannatech is one of those companies. We have withstood the test of time. And our history is right, an open book. So you don't have, there's no surprises. You're not going to wake up one day and go, oh my God, I did not know that. No, everything about us is out there. And we gladly will show it to you where it is. And we'll explain to you what happened, and we'll tell you the things that have made us a great company, why we've gone through the good, the bad, the ugly, and then we're back to good and bad and great. Because every company will go through ebbs and flows. We've been through it, but the ones that survive through it create character. That character is what takes you further. And a lot of companies don't ever make it through anything, and that's not the kind of company that you can really hitch your wagon to and say, this is a company that's gonna, that's really gonna help me create this multi-generational legacy for my children, for my grandchildren.
Yeah, awesome, Al. I remember at school, I had a history teacher always used to say to us, how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? And that sort of sums up what you were just talking about. So, and specifically, I mean, I've seen so many people tell me, oh, no, this company, this is going to be the next big billion-dollar company, and they're not around like 2 years later. Or people say, oh, no, you got to get involved in this, it's a ground floor opportunity. And then, all these people jump to this company, and I think it's so important to plant yourself somewhere with something you believe in. And I feel for me, at least for me, what I love about Mannatech, it's not just about making money, it's also about making a massive difference in the world and making, not only from what the difference the product is making in people's lives, but also the difference with, what these products make in kids' lives. I mean, maybe just briefly, we've got quite some time, a bit of time left. So maybe you can just share a little bit on Mission 5 Million and maybe what Mannatech's doing around helping children that are malnourished all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a great book out there. It's called Start with a Why. As individuals, you need to have a why. You need to have a why that's bigger than you. And that's why, if that's you and you're watching right now, or whether you're watching live or in replay, but you want to do something bigger than yourself, I commend you for that. As a company, we had to also think about what is it that we're going to do that's bigger than us. And, if I can show it here for a second here, I think if you look back there, the pictures are children, and it's in my office. The reason it's in my office is because I remind myself every day when I come to work why we do the things that we do. We're a nutrition company. And one of the biggest problems we have in the world today is the fact that there's 5 million children that die every year because of the lack of access to good nutrition. And if we are a nutrition company, we have an amazing opportunity to be able to be a force for good in the world. And we created a social entrepreneurship model where every time that someone buys a product from us, it automatically creates a donation. We call it a 1-to-1 program. So 1-to-1, so what you do for your family, when you buy enough products for your family for a month, you help feed a child for a month through our M5M program, Mission 5 Million. And right now we're literally giving to hundreds of thousands of children on a daily basis, whether it's we're adding nutrition to their meals or we actually giving them a meal through our partnership with kids around the world. And we're very proud of that. It's something that drives us, it fuels us to know that what we do really makes a difference. Our industry has an opportunity to be a force for good because we can mobilize people for a cause. And for us, and you know, we talk a lot about cause today. There's a lot of causes out there, but I tell you what, we believe that the cause of children and something that really we're actually very active in South Africa with. We feed children through a network of soup kitchens around South Africa. We're very proud of that, and we stand really to do more of it. And that's one of the reasons why we want to keep expanding our business. We want to keep expanding and acquire more customers in our business, because the more customers, the more people use our products, the more children we can help. And that is a very, that's an amazing process when you know that what you do not only makes a difference to you and your family and your health and finance, but there is a consequence to that. There's a butterfly effect to what you do that can then spread out, and it becomes then something that's bigger than yourself. And I know every human being, eventually, that's what Maslow used to call, you know, self-actualization. The highest level of need of every human being is to be relevant, to know that your life made a difference in the life of others. And I do believe that that's one of the things network marketing provides, but especially Mannatech, it's something that we directly provide by you being part of what we're doing here on a daily basis.
Wow, oh, that's incredible, and you know, it's amazing because it's a win for you, it's a win for the company, it's a win for all these kids all over the world. And you know, I've always, even for me, sometimes when I sometimes don't feel like contacting someone or speaking to someone, you can always just say, listen, I'm going to contact this person because I potentially can make a massive difference in someone's life. I might not even know them, and it's also great to be able to give back. It's sort of it's a blessed business, if I can call it that.
It's
The
win-win.
next thing I want to, sorry?
It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing I want you to just touch on quickly, I think a lot of the South African leaders might have seen that. I see the Mannatech share price has more than doubled since before lockdown, which is pretty exciting. A lot of people will be saying to me, should be buying Mannatech shares, and I always share with them, you know, obviously it's great if you've got shares, but I think for me the best investment I ever made was buying my starter pack and actually investing in myself and building my business. So, can you maybe just share a little bit about what's going on in the company at the moment? You know, I know there was Dutch auction regarding the share price, and you know, Mannatech buying back a lot of shares. Can you maybe just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. Well, obviously, as a profitable company, over the last few years, we've accumulated a certain amount of cash, and the shareholders have to decide how to use that cash, because you know, cash loses value if you just leave it to itself, right? So, and what I thought was very exciting is that our shareholders, our top shareholders, our board of directors decided that the best use of our cash is to invest in ourselves, which for me, it's a great message to put out there, because you know, they could have had a dividend, they could have just paid themselves, they could have, you know, there's a lot of things we could have done with that money. They decided they were going to reinvest that money in Mannatech. By buying our shares back, we're creating value for our shareholders, but we're also saying to everyone, including our associates and our customers and our shareholders, we believe in this company. We believe in the future of this company. And that, more than anything else, proves that. So obviously that has given us a little bit of bump on our shares. It's a nice bump. Obviously, like every company, we had seen a decline after the virus situation, worldwide pandemic. But we recovered very quickly. We had a very profitable first quarter, which we have already declared. And you know, things are looking good. And we feel that it's the right time for the company to reinvest in itself. So if you, again, it's just a good thing to know that our shareholders and our board of directors feel very, very good about where the company is and where the company is going. I will tell you the next 5 years are going to be very exciting. It's going to be exciting from an international expansion point of view, but it's going to be more exciting from a technology enhancement point of view. We are working on some very, very exciting projects to make ourselves more social, mobile, global. I've been talking about it since 2015, but it's like a blue ocean opportunity. The social selling, video commerce, all these new things are very, very exciting, and we want to really absolutely play in that area and give you, the associates, and anybody who's thinking about becoming an associate, the tools to be able to reach out, to expand your influence globally, and help us go out and acquire more customers, more volume, more commissions, more children are fed. It's a good thing. Growth is always a good thing.
Well, just on that, the next 5 years, can you maybe just elaborate a little bit about, sort of a lot of people, constantly always asking me, where's Mannatech going to be expanding to, and why is the opportunity right to get involved right now? So if you can maybe just talk to us a little bit about global expansion and maybe some of the other exciting things that are happening within the company over the next 5 years you're looking at. I mean, I obviously completely understand some of these things are probably confidential, but if there is anything that you feel is important for people to hear on the call, if they're looking at Mannatech as an opportunity, or if they maybe want to launch their business, or if they maybe want to do a relaunch, why is now a good time to be relaunching? Specifically, number one. Number two, where do you sort of see Mannatech in the next 5 years?
All right. Well, let's talk about why now. I mean, I think I've said it already, but let me say it again. Why now? Folks, the world has never been more aware of health as they are right now. I remember back in the days, where, in China, where they had a similar situation, that right after that is when we seen the biggest growth of some of the companies that were involved there. So that's because people are aware. I also believe that health is a big deal today because our middle class around the world is growing, whether you're in India or in Greater China, in Africa, the middle class is expanding. And when the middle class expands, the first thing they look for is health, wellness. It becomes very important. Once you've taken care of food and shelter, the next thing you're concerned about is your health. And as the middle class grows all over the world, I think that's going to continue to fuel the growth of health and wellness. Home-based businesses, or what people call today a gig, that is expanding at an incredible, dizzying pace. I will speak of the U.S. where we live here, because we've done some of the research here. The research is available. Just in the last 10 years, there's now over 58 million Americans that are involved in a side gig. In a side gig, that means they're doing something extra to create income, whether they're driving Uber, or they're renting a room on Airbnb, or they're renting their services on TaskRabbit, or whether they're self-publishing, or they're doing online commerce, or they're an Amazon reseller. 58 million people, this was last year, are involved in a side gig. That's 40% of our total labor force. And the experts think that it could go up to 80%. So that means we could have another 50 million people looking for opportunities. Now, the reason for that is clear. Jobs are disappearing. AI, robots, technology, productivity gains that are coming from everywhere. Jobs are disappearing. Wages are not keeping up with inflation. People want more flexibility, more freedom, more rewards. So there is a movement for people to start their own businesses like we've never seen in this country in hundreds of years. And this is a global thing. So it's happening all over the world. That makes it a good reason to look at this opportunity. The other thing is technology. I mean, the tools that we have, from the mobile phone to social media tools, to the reach that we have. We can reach through literally millions of people all over the world without leaving, the comfort of our home. I mean, you're talking to someone who's traveled 100 countries to do business in 65 different countries, and spent a good part of my life in airplanes. And today, the last 4 months, I've worked from my house and manage a global business without having to travel anywhere. So folks, it's never been a better time. And it's only going to get even better, because the needs we're talking about, the needs for health and wellness, the need for freedom, flexibility, and rewards, the need for personal significance is only growing exponentially. So I see a great future for our business model. I see a great future for Mannatech, because we're part of that. And we offer solutions that people are looking for.
Awesome, Al. I've just got 2 more questions before we end off. I think the first question I just want to ask you in closing is, specifically, there's been a lot of questions just from leaders around the Direct Selling Association and why it's so important to, if you are going to be in the network marketing space, to be part of a company that there's some regulation or that's looking after your interests. I mean, I'm quite familiar with the Direct Selling Association, but I mean, maybe you can just sort of just maybe share a little bit more about the DSA and what it's all about and why it's important. When people ask you, is Mannatech part of the DSA? Obviously, we are in South Africa. In fact, in South Africa, there's only 28 companies, I believe, that are 28 companies that are part of the DSA. I believe in the US there's obviously a lot more. Maybe just share with everyone on the call this evening, specifically about the Direct Selling Association, why you should be proud of being part of an association like that.
The Direct Selling Association, the DSA, is a trade organization that obviously advocates for our industry. They do it for us. In the US, the US DSA is out of Washington D.C., so they lobby for our industry at the governmental level. But the thing about the DSA is they have a code of ethics. If you're going to be a member of the DSA, you need to abide by this code of ethics. You say, well, why is so many companies not part of the DSA? Because, well, they don't plan to abide by the code of ethics, and that's one of the things that I think stops them from being part of a member of the DSA. So for me, I'm proud to be a member of the DSA. I go to all their meetings. I participate in all the CEO forums. It's a great opportunity to meet all the CEOs of all the different companies in the industry, and we share best practices. We keep an eye on what's going on. We talk to each other about our opportunities and also our challenges. So it's a great place to exchange ideas and find out what's going on. But it's also a commitment to abide by a code of ethics. And I think if you're going to be involved with a company, you want to know that compliance, code of ethics, those things are important because they secure the long-termness of your company. Many people think compliance is like a shackle. It's like it keeps you from saying what you want to say. Well, no, compliance is actually protecting your business, protecting each other's business so the business can be around for a long time. And for me, that's essential for us to fulfill our promise that we're going to be here for you. I have a thing here in my office. It's called King of Compliance. I got my picture on that as a King of Compliance. I take compliance very seriously. Not to the degree where we can do nothing, of course not, but to the point where we protect our company, we protect your company, we protect your legacy by making sure that we do the right things, we say the right things, we don't promise things we can keep, we don't talk about our products in ways that, where the claims are not founded, they're not verified, they haven't been proven through studies and other things. We take those things seriously, and I think most companies in the Direct Selling Association take those things seriously. I can't speak for those who are not in the DSA, because just the fact that they choose not to be in the DSA, sometimes it says a lot. We choose to be in the DSA. We choose to follow the code of ethics, and we choose to follow the compliance that's required for us to stay a member in good in good standing with the DSA.
Awesome, great answer. Oh, and I think the closing question I want to ask you is, you know, you've obviously been in this industry previously. You were involved in a multi-billion-dollar network marketing company. You've obviously traveled all over the world with that company to more than 60, 65 different countries. You've obviously able to associate with some of the top leaders in the industry. I mean, people literally that became billionaires out of this industry. You know, I think the one, you know, the closing question I want to ask you is, you know, what is the one thing, what are the one or two or maybe three traits that you've seen all successful leaders have in common that actually make it in this industry? Because I think for me, I've seen so many people, it's easy to join. I mean, everyone, especially with Mannatech, it doesn't cost a lot of money to join. So what are the things that really separates the people that you've seen that made it massive in the industry? You know, that really, that you sort of, you know, what is the common denominator for people that make a big success in this industry? If someone's on the call here this evening for the very first time, what are the things that they can really clinch to and say, listen, you know, man, I can do that, you know? I mean, yeah, just in your experience, you've obviously been with Mannatech, associated with a lot of the top leaders and in your previous company as well. So maybe just share with us, just shed a light on that as a closing question.
Sure. I mean, I think the first thing is you must be hungry. You must have a dream. You must want something different. You want a change in your status quo. And it's not just something you say because it says easy. It's something you want to do something about. That's why this business is always about timing. You know, sometimes it's the right idea, but it's the wrong time. Sometimes it's just the wrong time. And for me, it's very important that you are hungry, that you are really excited about your dreams and you want something different. You want something to change. The second thing that I see that's very, it's a trait I see with people who succeed is before they lead, they're willing to follow. You know, South Africa is very blessed. You have in Louis and Leonie van der Linde and all of you leaders, you guys have created an amazing system, a success system. And I really, I'm proud of my relationship with you guys because it's something that's really part of a bigger thing than just we do business together. But we have built this trust, you know, this trust and this, we are an edification of each other in a big way. But those who succeed in this system are those who are willing to follow first before they lead. You can't be a leader if you're not first a follower. And those are the people who said, tell me what I need to do next. And then they go do it. They come back, said, I've done it. What do I need to do next? It's the sweetest words you can hear from somebody, but those are the ones, it's the words that you know are the trait of somebody that's going to succeed. What must I do next? Now, eventually you're going to know enough to know what to do next. And then you're going to be teaching others what to do next. But before you can teach others what to do next, you have to be the one who's asked. You know, one of the traits I love about you, JP, is you ask. You ask questions. Answers are in the questions. And you're curious and you want to know. But you're willing to listen. You're willing to follow. You're willing to be an edification. I think those things are really important for someone who's going to succeed. And the last thing is never quit. Just never quit. You know, just decide when you start, it's not over until it's done. Because the only people who lose in our industry is people who quit. Because if you stay in long enough and you do just enough of the right things, success will follow. And then it's those who quit who will never know that. And most people quit just before they were about to have their breakthrough. Just before they have their breakthrough. The night is the darkest just before the dawn. So anytime it feels like it's dark, it feels like there's no, it doesn't, you can't see it, and you might be this close to your next breakthrough if you don't quit. So know why you started, follow instructions and be a follower before you're a leader, and then never quit. three out of many other things, but three that comes to my mind right now that I feel are the characteristics of somebody who's going to do well in that industry.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time out. And just with those three principles there, I mean, I can relate to that so much. I feel my success in Mannatech has just been because I've stuck it out. And when I first started with Mannatech, a lot of my friends were joining other companies, and I stuck it with Mannatech and had some tremendous growth, and then sort of had times when it wasn't growing, and then I stuck it out a bit more. And it's amazing for me, 10, 11, 12 years later, to be signing people up and getting new people started on the product and as a business partner that I've spoken to 10, 11, 12 years ago. And they're saying, man, are you still doing that? It's crazy, And for me, and I've shared this with so many people before, but I'd rather have 1,000 people tell me no than one person tell me, yes, I told you so. And I don't want to give anyone the light of ever being able to say to me, I told you not to get involved with Mannatech. It's not going to work, because I've always felt that I determine my success if it's going to work or not. And so thank you very much for taking the time out. And just to my uplines, to Louis and van Linden, my 2-star upline, and to Sylvan Prince, thank you very much for what you guys do. And just to my entire group that's on the call this evening, you'd be happy to know we had on the Zoom platform, we were at about 350, and I see on the Facebook group we were at about 350, 360 as well. So we had about 700 people on the call here this evening. So I mean, how amazing is that I can be sitting, here in my living room, and you could be sitting in Dallas, and we could have 700 people on a call listening to this live, and I'm sure there are going to be thousands more that are going to listen to it in time to come. So thank you for taking the time out, and just to my entire group, thank you for everything that you guys do. I'm extremely proud of you. It's been a massive blessing to work with all of you, and I'm very excited about my next 12 years ahead with this company. So thank you very much, Al. All the best, and have a good day, Al, and a good evening to all of you.
Same to everyone. Good evening, and congratulations for an amazing month of May.
Awesome. Thank you, Al.
Bye-bye.